Hi, I'm going to be talking about BPAlt, an extension for the Unreal Engine which allows alternatives for Unreal blueprints. I'm going to be going over a couple different examples of how the tool can be used, the first of which being a first-person shooter game where you're supposed to shoot some targets. So here's the project. We're going to press the play button here so we can see what's going on. As you can see, the targets oscillate back and forth and you're just supposed to shoot them. So for this example, I'm going to make an alternative for the target, giving it different movement and make it look a little different so we can differentiate between the alternative and the original. To do this, we open up the target blueprint in the blueprint editor. There's a lot of stuff in this blueprint, but we're mostly worried about the movement code. So now we're going to make an alternative. We're going to go up to the window section in the menu bar and we're going to open up blueprint alternatives. This is going to open a tab which you can dock if you'd like, and we're going to save a new alternative. And it'll ask you if you want to save, and then it'll ask you if you want to open. We will. Creating an alternative will basically just create a copy of the original, and now inside of the new target alternative, I'm going to change up the movement code so that it moves in a sinusoidal fashion. And now we're going to change the material for the sphere mesh in the target to a wood material so we can differentiate it. Now that we've created the alternative for the target, we can go back into the level so we can actually swap out one of our targets for our alternative. So first we got to select our target either in the level editor or in the world outliner. And now once we've selected the target we want to swap out, we can go into the details panel, find our blueprint alternatives detail, and there we'll find a drop down menu where we can select any of the alternatives we made for this blueprint and swap it out. If at any point you want to know which alternative you're using for a given object, you can check the details panel, or in the world outliner it'll tell you which blueprint class it's using. And we can see here it's either the target or the target alternative 1. So after we made the swap to the target alternative, we can see that the target is moving in a sinusoidal fashion, and it's also the wood material. As a last thing for this example, if you wanted to create an alternative from a previous alternative that you made, you just have to create the alternative from the previous alternative's blueprint editor, and it will create a copy of that alternative. In the second example, I'm going to be using this Tetris template to show how you can swap between alternatives differently when you only have one instance of a blueprint in a scene. In this case, we're using a blueprint class that controls a game mechanic. If we press play, we can see that the game plays just like Tetris, except in this case, the game has a special power that the user can activate. Right now, the special power just clears the bottom row of blocks, and so we're going to be making an alternative of the special power. The special power actually has its own blueprint and has a special event inside that triggers whenever a player activates a special power. Which you can see here. So now let's create an alternative of the special power blueprint. And we do it the same way, open up the blueprint alternatives tab and save an alternative. So in the new alternative, we're going to make the special power clear the bottom 2 lines instead of just the bottom 1. The game works off of a grid, so we're just adding more grid positions to clear. If we go back into the level, we can see that we can still swap out alternatives the same way we did in the first example. However, since we're working with a blueprint that only has one instance of itself in the level, we can actually go into the blueprint editor of the alternative and simply just press the play button from the alternative blueprint editor, and it will swap in the new alternative. If we go to the blueprint editor of the original blueprint and press the play button from there, it'll swap back to the original blueprint in the scene. So to conclude, you can swap between alternatives in the level through the details panel, or if you have a blueprint with only one instance in the level, you can swap between them in the blueprint editors using the play button. Thank you for watching this video. I'm BPAlt.